Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review, so I hope you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2008, directed by Toby Wilkins, and this film is called Splinter. So Splinter is about a couple. They're going to go camping under the stars for their anniversary, but they run into 10 problems which forces them to go to a motel. But they don't make it to the motel because they're being carjacked by a couple that are on the run from the police, and so the new destination is Mexico. But unfortunately they're not going to get to Mexico because they run into car problems. So they stop over at a gas station, and pretty soon they're going to realise that the gas station is going to be a safe haven because something outside in the vicinity is going to prove a direct threat to them, which is going to turn their evening into an absolute nightmare. So whether or not they can survive this nightmare is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on Splinter. In today's age, as far as horror films are concerned, everyone needs to convolute a plot. And because you've convoluted the plot, you can't really enjoy it as much as you want to. And I think the reason is because a lot of horror films are worried about what other horror films have done. They're not focused on their own experience. Instead, they want to get one up over the film that's just come out. So whether it's twists that come out of nowhere, whether it's just really silly plot developments, or it's something that leaves you scratching your head and wondering what the hell was that about. And so you're not really enjoying it as you're actually going along. And so that is the biggest problem in a lot of horror films, is they try a little bit too much. And simplicity is really a thing of the past. And the reason why Splinter works as well as it does is because it does remember what it is to be a simplistic film. And the more simplistic you make it, the less convoluted it is, therefore it's a lot easier to follow. And if you've got a very easy film to follow, you can enjoy it a lot more. And that's exactly what Toby Wilkins does. I will say that Splinter is one of the most enjoyable horror experiences I've had in a very long time. In fact, I really love this film, is because it is very, very scary. You've got on one hand a psychological horror film about a siege. Basically, this gas station actually plays a character of its own, is because help is not around for many miles away. So I felt as though it was every man for themselves. And so this gas station was their safe haven, but as the movie goes along, that safe haven is starting to become smaller and smaller. And the simplistic approach to the characters helps on the psychology as well, because finally you don't have these annoying characters, and it doesn't really take a lot to actually get characters you can root for, because all you need to do is make them bearable. And there's no melodrama that's trying to make you feel sorry for them. There's no sob story. There's nothing, no element in this film that bogs it down and halts the progression of the film. It goes for 79 minutes, but I thought the 79 minutes was utilised to perfection, is because it never loses grip of the sustained pressure from first minute to last minute. So the characters are very likeable. Therefore, when these bad things are happening, that does give you a lot of psychology as well. And then on the other hand, not only do you have a lot of psychological horror in this film, you've also got absolutely fantastic body horror. You've got the David Cronenberg type of horror. You've got the science fiction horror of The Thing, and you've got absolute brutal violence. And so there's a lot of these horror aspects of this film that joins up to the simplistic idea, and it makes it an overall experience. And I never felt as though this is a movie that needed anything else. So it's a very self-aware film, and because of that self-awareness, the viewer is going to have so much fun watching this. I thought the outside entity was absolutely terrifying. When you actually see what this danger is, I thought it was very unnerving. I watched this very late at night, and it really creeped me out. So it's got a very scary sort of look to it. It freaked me out, and the relentless violence that is committed in this film was absolutely hard-hitting. It was actually exhausting, and that it never lets up and it never lets you gain your breath. And the fact that it's a very short film allows that fact, the sustained pressure, and it feels like just an assault on your senses, and it was an experience that I really wasn't expecting. So you not only have great characters, you've also got very good cinematography. It's set at night time, so you don't know where this dangerous presence is. So it does play a lot on your psychology, and that's at that aspect as well. Then all of a sudden, bang, this thing is just attacking them relentlessly, relentless. It's just absolutely ferocious, and that's what scares you the most, is that you know that if they fall into the grips of this thing, it is going to be absolutely horrific. And so that's something that I always felt kept me on a knife edge. I thought to myself, they're one step ahead, but they're going to have to keep one step ahead if they are to outsmart these things. And I also really like the fact that the villains in the film, at the start of the film, they actually turn out to be somewhat likable as well. And it's all very natural. It just doesn't have to go into sob stories. It just, you feel as though the attacks are so ferocious that you gain a connection just based on that. And that you think to this, oh, these poor people, what are they going to do next? And so it was a case of just a very simplistic idea that is interweaved with a lot of good little ideas that just feed off that and make it a film that you don't see very often. So The ending I thought was absolutely fantastic, and it just capped off what was an experience I wasn't expecting. But there are a few problems to Splinter. Now, the biggest problem is that there is a little bit of shaky cam, and I thought some of the shaky cam blocked a little bit of the view into some of the really good aspects of this film. As I said, it's a very, very, very gory movie, but some of it was a little bit too shaky cam, and I know that annoys a lot of people. And another problem is not really a problem, is that the simplicity is going to prevent this film from being a masterpiece. It's not a movie that's going to go into the ages as one of the best horror films ever made. It actually feels like a popcorn film, but that's exactly what it wanted to be, so it really can't be a criticism, but it's what prevents it from being an absolutely flawless experience. But as I said, this is one of the most enjoyable horror films I've seen in a very long time. I love this movie, and I'm sure a lot of people out there will as well. It has a lot of hype, so obviously a lot of people do like the film, and for once a horror film actually lives up to that hype. So overall, for Splinter, go out there and see it. It's fantastic. I'm going to give it 4 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.